Hey guys, this is Lala Legacy and welcome back to another episode of SeaBed. So, let's jump right back in. Do you have any plans for tomorrow, Takako? Not sure. I'll go to the night duty room after this and ask Mayuko about it. Do you have anything planned tonight? Our library is open to the public on the weekends, so I'll be there till noon. This has been on my mind ever since I first heard about it, but do people really ever come here? We have a few visitors from the outside, but there have been a number of people that came looking for old books. Can't blame them. There's no older building than this on the entire island. Merely remembering the amount of dust I discovered on the shades made my throat hurt. We had a few guests from the Western Ward too. Right. They don't have a library in that building, do they? That's right. I tried remembering how that place looked, but I couldn't. Anyway, I'll drop by again sometime. Okay. Good night. Oh, that's pretty. I left the room as Sanai lay down in the bed. I could see light seeping out through the window pane of the white wooden door. I turned the silver handle on the door, and it opened with no resistance. As I removed my slippers and stepped on the tatami mat of the small living room, I heard a sound coming from the kitchen. Takako! Mayuko's voice reached me from the same place I'd heard the sound. Good evening! Good evening. You shouldn't barge into people's rooms without knocking. I'm sorry. The door was unlocked, so I thought you were expecting me. I try not to lock those in case of unexpected emergencies. I sat down in front of the table as Mayuko appeared from the kitchen and placed a cup of steaming hot tea in front of me. Thanks. You are welcome. Mayuko straightened her back and gave me a faint smile. Ah, that's right! Oh, well, whoops, that was her. Whoopsie! She trotted back to the kitchen and returned with a red can. It made a popping sound as she opened it up. Using the lid as a coaster, she placed the can on the table. It was filled with cookies shaped like tubes, ribbons, and hearts. Their colors made me assume they were coffee and cocoa flavored, though some of them seemed to contain chocolate and sugar. In any case, they were a sight for sore eyes. They looked delicious! I'm truly grateful for your help with the lights today. Oh no, stop it! Ah! Why did it skip? Okay, there was something buttery and sweet inside. I picked up a tube-shaped cookie and put it into my mouth. There was something... Oh, yeah. So it's like, don't mind if I do. Okay. The taste made me involuntarily smile. If this is the kind of stuff I get, I'll happily change those lights for you every day. I took a gulp of tea. I'll be sure to ask you again when help is needed. After I gulped down another star-shaped cookie with some tea and heaved a relaxed sigh, I suddenly recalled my initial goal in coming here. Oh, that's right! Is there anything I have to do tomorrow? Yes. I would like to ask you to do some cleaning. Again? This is an awfully large building for so few people, so we need to clean it periodically, lest we find ourselves overwhelmed. I call that a pain in the neck. Please don't say that. What will you do? I'll be visiting the town. I almost jumped up. I'll be stuck here cleaning everyone's mess while you're out and about in town? How's that fair? I'm not going there to have fun. Yesterday we harvested more vegetables than expected, so I'm visiting the town to try and barter for something more easily preservable. I'll help out with the cleaning if I make it back in time. Mayuko showed me her palm in a soothing gesture. Can't I go barter with them instead? I haven't driven a car in ages. I made a pretend gesture, acting like I was turning an invisible wheel. I cannot allow a patient outside without supervision, but if we go together, there will be no one to handle the cleaning. Are you guys short on funding or something? I raised both my hands, trying to sympathize the importance of hiring a new cleaning lady. This is a sanatorium. We try to keep our staff to a minimum. I've heard they had more people in the northern ward, where they bred all those cows and chickens. I don't believe they're all that different from us. Mayuko's cool demeanor proved her to be impenetrable to my suggestions. Geez, whatever. In that case, I'm gonna ask for that. It's been a while anyway. That? After trying each type of cookie, I picked up an extra large one with beads of sugar on top. I put it in my mouth, closed the lid of the can, then moved it to the side of the table. Yes, that feels good. Here? You could do it harder. Like this? Oh boy. I collapsed my upper half on the table as Mayuko let go of my shoulders. Oh, jeez. And here I was thinking like, oh no, she broke up with Sachiko and now she's like with Mayuko? No. Well, they look very similar. Your shoulders weren't stiff at all, Takako. It's only normal to get a massage after some strenuous physical labor. I stood up and pulled out the futon from the closet. I moved the table aside, placed the futon on the floor, and lay down on it. Aww. Okay, try to do it a bit more gently this time around. I'm not sure if I can keep up with you for much longer. Letting out a sigh, Mayuko sat down on my back. How rude. Can you press here and here? I pointed out the rough location of the spots I wanted her to rub. I didn't get that at all. I'll let you know if you start massaging a wrong spot. Mayuko exhaled yet another sigh and pressed the area between my shoulder bones. A little bit lower. A gust of wind rattled against the window. I could hear it whistle through the cracks. The shadows began to lightly twist and sway in the corner of the room I'd been staring at. I looked up to see the light above was swinging on its cord. That's some pretty strong wind. It's probably some leftover sea breeze. We get strong winds near the end of autumn. After a while, it calms down a bit, and we end up with weaker but ultimately colder gusts. Sanai told me the same thing earlier today. The window frame rumbled again. You talked to Sanai? Yeah, we discussed the book she lent me. Then I told her about one of my trips. One of your trips? I'd love to hear about that myself. I don't feel like telling you the whole thing all over again on the same day. Maybe some other time. Mayuko gave my shoulder a light yet reassuring knock of the fist. Oh, that's good. I see you've grown quite close to Sanai. There are so few people here, and it's always better to have more friends, no? Yeah. Thanks to that, Sanai seems a lot more cheerful lately. Even her condition has improved. Really? Well, we found her in the library, didn't we? She used to never voluntarily leave her room regardless of the weather. And her facial expressions have grown richer. I'm pretty sure it's your influence. Well, if you keep talking to people, you eventually end up taking on their facial expressions too, I guess. Is that so? I mean, talking means conveying one's feelings, right? And to do that, gestures and expressions are sometimes even more important than the words themselves. Like, you know, body language and all that jazz. I suppose that makes sense. The wind seemed to have calmed down, making the room feel as though it was floating in a calm sea. By the way, did you know that the whites of human eyes serve to make eye contact easier? Maybe you've noticed that a few animals actually have them. In the animal kingdom, where survival of the fittest is the law of the land, survival of the fittest is the law of the land, having one's actions read from their appearance would be fatal. Meanwhile, all people need is a single look to convey their thoughts. If that continues to evolve, I wonder if words and facial expressions will become outdated as well. If that happens, things that convey emotion, like books, music, and pictures, might vanish alongside them. Sounds like an awfully dull world if you ask me. On the other hand, though, by understanding each other perfectly, we might be able to eliminate suffering. Religion and war might cease to exist. You could be right, but without books, then I would be out of a job. Oh, that would certainly be unfortunate. Mayuko seemed to have fallen deep in thought. Hey, your hands stopped moving! I want more massaging, more I say! Mayuko gave me a patronizing okay, as I decided to express my dissatisfaction in a childish manner. After enjoying the touch of her hands for a while, I suddenly thought of something. What is it? This is about what we discussed earlier, but doesn't Sanai communicate with anybody else? Well, for starters, there aren't many people for her to talk to. In the past, we had a bit more patience, but most of them left us right before your admission. I see. There were multiple reasons why one would leave the sanatorium. Some of them might not be exactly cheerful. But then, I don't really know everything about Sanai either. I started working here after she was already a patient. Really? Yes. I'm not that different from you on that front. Well, if there's a difference, it's that I have access to the medical records. As Mayuko began to focus more on the conversation, her hand stopped. How bad is Sanai's amnesia anyway? I doubt I'm allowed to discuss that without explicit permission from the person concerned. You shouldn't ask things like that so lightly. Mayuko suddenly added more strength into her grip and squeezed my shoulder. I thought I may be of some help if I knew more. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with those groups where people share their problems with each other, and that makes them feel better and stuff. I'm not saying that it's bad to share that information, just that if you want to know about it, you should probably ask her directly. You can do that, can't you, Takako? We're getting along pretty well right now, so I probably won't. In that case, I don't see the problem. I could hear the sound of a swinging pendulum clock from somewhere. Speaking of which, have you already written in your diary entry for today, Takako? I had completely forgotten all about it until she brought it up. Not really. It's one of your duties as a patient. I feel like I could totally start writing if I got rid of all the stiffness in my waist. I kicked the futon with my feet a few times, making Mayuko exhale another sigh. My fingers are starting to hurt. Just a bit more. Just a bit, then. Mayuko shifted her position closer to my waist. My goodness. I dashed forward through the corridor with my arms pressing this cleaning rag against the floor. The wet trail I left on the floor was easily discernible due to its darker, more vivid color. With more force added, I managed to make a single swipe take care of most of the dirt. The smell of wet wood flooded my nostrils. It made me remember the time I had to clean the floor back in school. I read somewhere that the memory area of the human brain is sensitive to smell. I didn't know how many times I smelled this odor when I was still in school. Nor did I have any ideas as to the amount of cleaning I did. I most likely had experience with classrooms, corridors, toilets, the teacher's room, the roof of the principal's office, and the local train station. Cleaning the teacher's room was punishment for something I did. But, long story short, I had become quite an expert at handling wet rags. The thought made me smile, and I continued to go back and forth along the old floor, enjoying the smell of wet wood. Eventually, all of my trails connected, leaving not a speck of dirt in the corridor. The trail I made first had almost completely dried up. I used just the right amount of water, neither too little nor too much, and so the final result was nothing short of perfection, if I said so myself. Sometimes I surprise even myself! With the second floor corridor done, I pulled out Mayuko's memo from my pocket. Let's see. I took out a pen from the same pocket, pressed the memo against the wall, and crossed out second floor corridor from the items listed on it. Next up would be... I spotted a window that could have still used some cleaning. The window frame was covered in dust. I imagined Mayuko brushing her finger against the windowsill, showing off the dust collected on it with an angry expression on her face. The actual Mayuko, after having breakfast and stuffing the back of her car with the box of vegetables, left for town promising to be back by noon. Might as well! I walked over to the bucket at the foot of the stairs. After all, I was the uncrowned champion of wet rags. Which sounds super weird. The somewhat chilly wind from the sea cooled off my body after it heated up from all that exercise. Leaning against the wooden frame of the window, I gazed up at the blue sky. Then I shifted my view towards the scenery of the port town. Then I inspected the entrance to our sanatorium. Then I spent a few moments gazing at the large tree next to the parking lot. Slacking off? The sheer abruptness of her voice nearly made me fall out the window. I turned around and saw Sanai standing in front of me. She seemed to have returned using the connecting corridor. I kept the door behind her open to keep the air circulating. I almost fell out and broke my legs, you know. If that happened, I would let you have my job. You mean taking care of the library? All you have to do is sit in place and read books. That doesn't sound too bad. Have you finished cleaning? I'm finished with this place, at least. What about you? It's almost 12 o'clock. I was on my way to have lunch. Wait, it's already noon? Sanai pulled up the sleeve of her turtleneck and checked her wristwatch. It's going to be 12 in 15 minutes. If you haven't eaten yet, we could have lunch together. I wanted to grab something to eat, but after remembering the cleaning list, I changed my mind. Nah, I'm a little behind as it is, and Mayuko should be getting back soon enough. I want to clean at least one more room before she arrives. I see. We walked back to the stairs where I had left my bucket. I waved Sanai goodbye as she descended. Once she was gone, I picked up the bucket and the rag. Gotta hurry this up. I continued to the next room to clean. According to the list, it was the furthest room on the west side of this corridor. I placed the bucket on the ground and tried turning the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. Huh? Did she forget to unlock it? It didn't seem like the lock or the handle were rusted. All the rooms that were in use were usually locked, or that weren't in use, were usually locked. And Mayuko was the only one who had the keys. I let the knob go and stood in front of the door, not knowing what to do. When I turned around, deciding to follow Sanai to the dining room, I spotted the doorknob of the adjacent room. I stopped and returned to it. As I turned the knob, the door opened with a low creaking sound. Oh! I entered the room, slightly disappointed. I parted the curtains on the opposite end of the room. The afternoon sun peeked into the room, outlining its contours. The room itself was of the same design. It seemed to have been used to store old furniture. I could spot a big sofa, a ceramic vase, a wall clock, and a lamp, all ancient-looking and covered in dust. Careful not to disturb anything too much, I swept my rag across the floor. The rag turned black from dirt, prompting me to chuck it in my bucket. After a bit of washing, though, I realized it ended up blackening the water as well. But that is all the time that I have for this episode, guys, so if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already subscribed, by subscribing, you're becoming part of a legacy. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!